Well, what is going on, my Kryptonians of the internet? It is your boy, D-Wizzle. Thank you as always for tuning back to the channel. This is episode 7 of the D-Wizzle podcast.
Can I stop you there?
What?
Repeat what you just said, your intro.
What is going on, my Kryptonians of the internet?
I'm going to stop you there, so let's jump straight on into it, though. Let's jump straight on into it.
No. We are 7 episodes in, and you can't stop my intro here. That is my intro, and if y'all think it's corny, I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to keep doing it.
I like D-Wizzle.
Oh, thank you. Made it up myself.
Here's a suck up.
Stop. No, she's not.
Is Snoop Dogg around there for you? D-Wizzle? Shizzle, my Wizzle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about your name. Outrageous. What?
What?
Call you by your government name.
Yes.
What is your government name again? Actually, I don't think you should send that information out for the world to know. So, yeah, this is episode 7 of the D-Wizzle podcast. And today, we're finally going to be diving into the world of DC. And Aquaman is coming out December 14th.
It's gonna suck.
We'll see. But,
No, it's gonna not suck because when you suck in water, you die.
He can breathe in water. So when he sucks, he inhales.
Right,
and
it is.
oh boy. Anyway, so Aquaman is coming out December 14th. So leading up to that, we're going to be reviewing all of the DC films in the universe. We're going to be reviewing Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad,
No.
Wonder
Yeah, actually, I'm
still
still for Suicide Squad, bro.
Wonder Woman,
Okay.
and Justice League. Well, yeah, so we're going to review all those movies, and then when Aquaman comes out, we're going to do a big spoiler discussion and all that. Today, we're going to be talking about Man of Steel.
Okay.
Yes. And just to let you guys know, this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you guys have not seen Man of Steel...
Then that's your problem, because it's been like, what, 5 years?
5 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would go ahead and try to watch it and come back and watch this. Or if you don't care about spoilers, go ahead and watch on. But joining with me today, if you haven't already heard already, I have a awesome panel here with me. Returning to my channel, I have fellow YouTuber Shannon Jeffrey.
Shannon who?
Shannon Jeffrey?
I've never heard of her.
never heard of her.
Don't know who she is.
Must be new.
I only
Anyway,
watch Tara. Tara Jeffrey.
you guys probably recognize her from our Jurassic Park series. So she's
Yeah.
back to do Man of Steel with us. Joining Shannon is her sister, who if you watch Shannon Jeffrey's channel, you've probably seen her in a couple of videos. We have Tara Jeffrey. Yo, what's up? And finally, joining with me, I have
What's my name, Dwayne?
fellow YouTuber
What's my name, Dwayne?
Outrageous Plays X.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay, I can look that up.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So, Outrageous, go ahead and plug your channel real quick, Outrageous.
Go sub. English dub. 1, 2. Scrub.
Turn your ring.
Very, very, very nice. He does gameplays.
Yes, I do.
And he's about to do some skits as well. So,
Yes, I am.
if you guys haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to Shannon Jeffrey and Outrageous Plays X channels. I will leave links in the description below so you can go to both of their channels and see what they got going on over there. They have some really good content on there.
I do skits, I don't do gaming.
Oh yes, yeah, she does. She
I do
does
sketches
skits
now.
and
One
sketches,
gaming
and she's
Two gaming videos.
two gaming videos, and she's trying to
I
blog.
play games.
Oh, this is.
I play fun video games, guys. Just.
Oh my gosh.
We're,
He gave up.
we're off to a great start. Anyway, you guys ready to get into this?
Why not?
Okay, so yeah, we will hit you with our spoiler-filled discussion of Man of Steel right after you watch this cool trailer.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time,
your son is safe? I will find him!
My father believed if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready. What do you think?
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. In my world, it means hope.
Well, here it's an S. How about super?
Excuse me.
Alright, Man of Steel. So this movie was released June
2013.
Yeah, June 14th, 2013. This was the first, well, at this point, they didn't officially say that the DC Universe was going to start off at this point, but...
Yes, they did.
Well,
they did win.
They wanted to see how this movie was going to go before they were like, oh, we're going to do a DC Universe. So,
already got caught.
But anyway, this is the first movie in canon, technically. So, to give some context, I'm a huge DC fan.
For real, bro?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I am. Now, as I established in the previous podcast, I enjoy DC and Marvel, but I do enjoy DC more.
Me too.
Yeah. I grew up with DC longer.
All of y'all traders, bro. All of y'all traders.
I have a Marvel preference.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know, Shannon.
Thank you. So, speak for yourself.
Of course, and I will continue. Yeah, that's why I wanted to have some Marvel fans on here. Outrageous and Shannon are Marvel fans, and Tara and I are DC fans, so this is going to be interesting. But yeah, I grew up with DC since I was a little kid. I read all the comic books. I read Batman, Superman. I watched the Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, the Justice League shows. That's what I grew up on before the Avengers was even a household name. And Superman, I get a lot of hate for saying this. Superman is my favorite comic book character, period.
Dwayne. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, Superman is my favorite comic book character.
Lois!
Better than Batman? Yes, better than
Lois!
Batman. Batman is my second favorite. Shut up. Batman is my second favorite comic book character, but Superman is my favorite. Yeah, go ahead, put in the comments. No, Superman's lame. Batman's better. Blah 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 blah. Go ahead.
Superman's not. I mean, Superman's great, but like, we've evolved.
I think that there's a lot of DC characters that are very respectable, but they're just cool. But like, Superman has a lot of valor and like a lot more power, and versus like Batman is just like kind of like he just trained in the mountains.
Batman's rich, yeah.
Prep time.
Oh, prep time. Oh yeah, that's how he wins every fight. Prep time.
All he needs to
Pretty
know
much.
is something that's happening, and
It's like, oh, let me prepare real quick. And we'll talk about that more when we get to Batman v Superman.
Right.
I know a lot of people love Batman and think Superman is lame, but to me personally, there was a lot to his character that I could connect to on a personal level. Yes, he's overpowered. Yes, he's the goody two-shoes,
Yep.
but there's something to admire from that to me. So when they announced that Man of Steel was going to be released, and they're going to have Zack Snyder direct a Superman film, I didn't know how to feel about it at the time. Even though I love Zack Snyder, I definitely love his direction. I really enjoyed the director's cut of Watchmen. I think that's one of the best DC films out there. And then he directed 300, which I really liked. So his overall style, I was not fully sure how that was going to work with Superman necessarily. I saw the trailers for this movie and it looked great, pretty much. It seemed like they were going to take the tone of the Christopher Reeve movies and have Zack Snyder have his own interpretation of that. So I was like, okay, cool. It seemed very inspirational. The effects looked amazing. The cinematography looked great, and you had A-level actors in this movie like Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne, Michael Shannon. I'm like, this movie is jam-packed with great actors and actresses. and the music. Hans Zimmer was going to do the score for this movie, and I'm like, wow, this movie is going to be awesome. I can't wait. I remember seeing this in the theater, and the first time I watched it, I was lukewarm about it.
Hey, can I be honest with you?
Sure.
The first time I saw this in theaters, I fell asleep, bro. I'm being for real. I'm being straight up. I didn't finish watching the fight, but then when it came out on Comcast, I watched it.
So I first saw this and I didn't know how to feel about it because it was such a different interpretation of Superman. I've never seen anything like this before, and it was kind of jarring to me at first. It was just very heavy-handed to me, but I got it on Blu-ray eventually, and I watched it more and more.
How many times did you watch that movie before you got it?
I watched it 3 times in the theater. I was that big of a Superman fan. I wanted to give it a chance and actually understand what the movie's trying to portray. So the more I watched it, I started to understand how the movie was structured and stuff. And now, today, I've seen it, I don't know how many times, 20 times. And I love this film. I love the movie, guys. I think it is one of, if not probably the best Superman film they've made.
It is the best superhero film they've ever made.
Yeah. And, definitely appreciated what Zack Snyder gave to it. So we could already tell what outrageous opinion is about this movie.
Man of Steel was an amazing movie. Second best DC movie after Watchmen. There are loopholes in the film. 2 big plot holes that make no sense. How come at the end when Zod was about to kill those people, how come Superman didn't just throw Zod up? How come he didn't turn his head the other way? How come he had to break his neck? I mean, what the freak, man? How come he let his dad die? He could have saved the dad.
Spoiler alert. Wasn't he a baby when?
No, he was a full grown man. He was Henry Cavill, all grown up.
Wait, no. I think when you're talking about that scene with the tornado, actually Clark was supposed to be a teenager to a young adult at that point. Yeah, I know that was a bit confusing because Henry Cavill was playing him at that period of time, but I guess they wanted him so he can emote that scene really well. But he was supposed to be like a teenager or young adult. They didn't really specify, but he's definitely supposed to be younger than when he turned into Superman for the first time, so that's that.
No, Russell Crowe, who played his dad, died on Krypton when it blew
No. I'm talking about his Earth dad.
Oh.
Yeah, you remember it was that
No,
because his dad wouldn't let him.
His dad wouldn't, his dad told him not to because he didn't want him to expose his power when he wasn't ready.
I have a question. What would y'all do if one of y'all family members was in trouble and said, don't use your power? Would you let them die? No.
I don't know. It depends because, it depends on which family member it was because, I don't want them to yell at me, when they're laughing.
I feel you. But look, no, Superman...
I'll get in trouble.
Superman is quick to the point of he could save his dad and nobody would see him.
I mean, his dad believed in the greater good. He knew that, Superman was going to save the world, but he didn't want Superman to be prosecuted. He was hoping that never happened. Of course, it did happen because it's Superman, but, he didn't want Superman to get judged or attacked by people who he was meant to save eventually.
Look, bro, Man of Steel had... I know you're going to debate me on this. It had the best superhero fight ever on screen, Dwayne.
Okay, here we go.
On screen, Dwayne.
Look, bro.
Compelling story, Dwayne.
Here's the thing. I'm siding with you on that. We're going to have to fight Shannon on that. So...
The fight scene, I will definitely argue against with you because I could not see anything.
There's a lot of flying around.
There was so much aggressive,
yes, that's what
flying,
was sweet. That's what was sweet about it.
And shakiness of the camera, and I personally did not appreciate it as much. With Marvel, at least they clip some things together that it looks a little bit like it makes more sense. But, with this one, I was like, who is punching who? Who's winning? And then all of a sudden, he's got... who is it, Michael Shannon? That's his name.
General Zod.
Yeah, he's got him in a headlock, and he's about to kill a family. And I'm like, how did we get to this point? Like, I just remember people punching each other, you know. So it was like, he picked someone up and threw them into a IHOP, Mike.
No.
I'm not.
Feyora threw him into an IHOP. Not Superman. Feyora threw him into an IHOP.
No, wait. Bro, I'm about to pull this
Destroyed a breakfast.
Feyora threw him into an IHOP.
Bro, when Superman, that one scene when Superman tried to fly away, this dude grabbed his cape and just freaking smashed it. Oh my
Okay,
God.
yeah, so when people are talking about why didn't Superman take the stick to fight away from danger? He freaking tried 5 times and the Kryptonians kept bringing him back down.
No, he didn't.
Back down. Grabs his cape and like, no, you ain't going nowhere.
No, you did not try to steal the fight.
Every time I see that part where someone grabs his cape and throws it, I think of Edna from
No capes! No capes!
Well, first off, it wasn't really Superman who started the destruction. It was mainly Zod and his people who were like throwing people into IHOPs and then like
seriously,
threw him into a building.
Yeah.
Bro, look at his hair, bro.
They crashed the plane.
Bro, look at him, bro.
Shannon, what did you think about Man of Steel?
Okay. Well, here's the thing though, is that you said that you can very much relate to Superman.
Yes.
And not as much Batman.
Not. I mean, I can relate to Batman, but not as much as Superman to me.
That's actually kind of the opposite for me because Batman is such a human level, and Superman is actually, in my opinion, especially after watching Man of Steel, he's almost designed to be highly above humans and stuff. Like he's been alluded and compared to biblical references and stuff like that.
He
like
did the Jesus sign.
Yeah, so with all the biblical allusions, it separates him ultimately a lot. But yes, he does have very human problems, but just kind of like how in that same religion that they allude to, you know, we also are faced with problems and persecution, stuff like that, a lot like Superman, but not on his level, not on that level type of thing. And with Batman, I feel like Batman actually does go through a lot of that, especially when watching The Dark Knight and seeing, you know, he was judged, he was the Dark Knight, and he was kind of taking the blame for Harvey Dent, you know. He, you know, a lot of things happened to him on a big scale, but almost on a almost relatable scale for us because he's more human than Superman, you know. So I feel like I definitely relate more to Batman stories than Superman stories, but I do enjoy and appreciate his storyline because of all of these literary devices like biblical allusions that they used. So I don't know, I feel like I can definitely appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is. But learning something new from it, I don't know. Like, that's just another thing. But the cinematography, which is what I was talking about, was not my favorite. I definitely prefer Marvel over DC cinematography just because I feel like, personally, I feel like I can see better. But I still definitely appreciated this movie, and I'll watch this movie again, you know, but it wouldn't be my first pick.
Tara, what did you think about Man of Steel?
Tara, what did you think about Man of Steel, Tara?
I liked it.
You did? Amazing.
Yeah.
She enjoyed it, Dwayne.
Okay.
She enjoyed it, Dwayne.
Tara does love it.
Alright.
That's all?
Well, I actually did want to make a segue off of something Shannon said.
Okay.
So, like, Shannon said how, like, she thinks Batman's more relatable. But I really think that, like, in Man of Steel, something that they did is, like, I mean, obviously when he came to Earth, he didn't know he was an alien. So, like, he went through a lot of, like, stuff that kids would go through every day. Like, he was bullied, like, and he even saved his bully from, like, drowning, and people just gave him a really hard time. So I actually think that he's a little bit more relatable than Batman. Especially, like, Batman is an orphan, which a lot of
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
He is?
Yeah, his parents are dead.
Oh, bro,
Batman's an orphan. but like so is Robin. So like I think they're just trying to put in too much of like the orphan like concept into it, and then he becomes too much of a victim. Whereas like Superman, he kind of like overcame all of like the bullying and stuff because his dad and like learning about his powers made him like stronger from that, I think.
And I can see where you're coming from, like definitely with your argument. Like I can see where you're coming from with Superman being relatable because he was bullied, he's struggling being an outcast. He's totally different. He has these secrets that he can't really tell anybody because no one can relate to them, you know. So I definitely think that he has a very relatable story. But I personally feel like with Batman, not only as his, you know, coming of age story where he, you know, grows into Batman, not necessarily that's relatable. I can't relate to it, but other people may relate to it. But I feel like maybe Batman as a superhero can kind of sometimes relate to us better than Superman, I think.
The way I see it, the moral of the story, so with Superman, right?
Okay.
His dad saw it as, don't let the world tell you who you want to be. You be who you want to be. Do good.
Which is a good message.
Yeah, and that is, you know, it's, what's it called? Humanizing whatever the word is.
Yeah. Superman, it's making human relation.
Yeah, it's making him more relatable. Yeah.
It's still in our moral philosophy to do the Boy Scout theory, as you call it, is like, you know, doing things just because it's the right thing. Just because, I don't know, it's weird because, like, even though society right now, we're not full of people who have that ideology, I think morally, philosophy has never changed, and logic has never changed. So it's always just been, so even regardless of what society is, like, you know, doing, everybody in their own minds are built to be that person, to use their tools and things that are provided to them to help the common good. And also, when he was, you know, not to bring up Batman vs. Superman so early, but like when Superman posed as a threat and Batman didn't know, the instinct was to, I have to protect. And it was like, you could tell with all the nightmares that he was getting and stuff like that, his instinct was kicking in. He wanted to protect the people he was the hero to already, you know, despite who Superman was, you know. He didn't know, so he was very threatened by him because he was worried about the greater good, you know, on a very basic way of saying it. But
if that's what separates Batman from Superman, Superman listens to reason more, Batman does not.
I think they're both relatable. They're almost the same character. But
oh my gosh, that's Superman's parents died on a freaking faraway planet.
Right.
Batman's parents died in a freaking dark alley. they're too freaking similar. I'm gonna use my superpowers to fight for what's right. I'm gonna use my riches to fight for what's right.
Just one is the human version of the alien,
and one is smarter, Dwayne.
I'm just trying. Okay. I'm just trying to. This is the problem. Every time I try to talk about why I like Superman more than Batman, I'm trying to explain how I look at the character, and then I get attacked.
No,
like, come on.
We're saying, okay, I hear you, but this is my stance.
Okay.
Look, nobody's attacking you. We're destroying you, bro.
So I'm just.
Tara just walked out. Tara's not here anymore.
I'm right here.
Bye, Tara.
Okay. So, and I already know I'll probably have like 12,000 comments being like, yeah, outrageous, the Shannon is right, blah 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 blah. Okay.
It's an opinion. You never know. Other people will probably disagree with it.
Well, let's talk about Krypton because talk about
Can we
Krypton.
not talk about Krypton?
I want to talk about Krypton because the first 20 minutes of that movie I thought was great. It's fantastic. I think this is like the best like live action portrayal of Krypton I've seen because when you're looking at the Christopher Reeve movies, they barely went into that world, and so this one, like, we got a good image of what Krypton was, and they didn't try to homage the Christopher Reeve movies. It looked like a completely different take on it, which is what I wanted. I didn't want it to be like pretty much a carbon copy of the Christopher Reeve movies or even the animated series Krypton, even though I like that Krypton also. But this one, it just felt really like sci-fi. This was a really good science fiction movie.
It was.
Yeah, it's like that's what I really appreciated about it. Where the other Superman films just felt like a superhero flick, I guess. This one actually tried to be a different genre, so that I really appreciated. Russell Crowe as Jor-El, I thought was great. I know we all love who was the original Jor-El in movies. Marlon Brando Jor-El, that's what I was saying. Yeah, Marlon Brando's Jor-El. I appreciated for that time, that Superman, but for this one, like I said, it was just completely different interpretation. Felt more sophisticated. Felt there was a lot more weight to that interpretation of Jor-El than the old one. And just Russell Crowe is a great actor, so I thought that was a great choice for Jor-El. What did you guys think about L'Oreal? Jor-El's wife.
I thought she was beautiful.
She's very pretty, but
She had
I
no
think she did a
speak.
really good job.
She
for
did
the
speak.
5 minutes she was on.
yeah, she was like neutral to me. She's like, yeah, you go,
Mm-hmm.
but like, you go and then you go, you're gone. Like she wasn't in it that much.
She was trying to. She was there to like prove the point that like their world was completely completely gone, obliterated, and the only hope that was left was Cal or Clark. So she was like, there is no more salvation, and that's like that kind of leads into another biblical reference where like Jesus is the only salvation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we have the main villain of the movie, General Zod, played by the great Michael Shannon. What did you guys think about General Zod?
I think Zod is a great villain.
Is well done.
He is. He's one of
his-
the best.
His speech before they start fighting and like how he doesn't have people, I have that memorized because I love it so much.
He's good because he's a big threat, and he's scary, and he's intelligent, and he's tough, So...
And he thinks that he's right.
Look at this, bro. Hang on, bro.
That
Look.
makes you dangerous.
That makes you
Look
dangerous.
at that, bro. Look at that. That's
Yeah,
sexy.
that was
That's a sexy fight, bro. Look at that.
He's like the only
Did we
villain
just quote
from
Marvel?
Superman that.
Yeah,
like,
is this a DC podcast?
Zod is actually the best
He's the
DC
Hulk.
villain.
He actually is the best DC villain, yes. To this day,
no,
he is the best
no.
DC villain. I know you're going to bring up Heath Ledger's Joker, and let me tell you something.
I was gonna say.
Let me tell you something.
No, Bane was good too.
Up until his
Bane
last...
was great.
the last 20 minutes. Up until the last 20 minutes. I don't want this to be a huge dissecting of the Dark Knight films because it's not that. It's Man of Steel. But it's like Joker's whole motivation was a bit all over the place. I mean, he was fun to watch, but I just thought his overall development was like kind of a mess. But with Zod, I think he had more of a structured backstory and better development and more dynamics with the characters per se. So that's why for me, I think he's still the best. In the DC universe wise, I think he's the best villain they have so far, still to this day. Oh yeah, I probably should have asked this from the beginning. But as far as Superman himself, do we all approve of this version of Superman?
The cast for Superman, he's actual. I think of him as Superman.
I think he nailed it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Henry Cavill, I thought
Yeah.
was great.
So,
When you're welcome.
Shazam?
Shazam teaser trailer.
Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's been out. You haven't seen it?
No.
Bro, it sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't
Wait,
look...
no, that's not the kid.
Yeah,
That's the kid.
Yeah.
Billy Batson.
Well, that's Shazam.
No, Billy Batson's the one with the hoodie.
He's from It. Jack Grazer.
Oh, yeah.
Look, bro.
I don't like who is actually playing Shazam.
Oh, why not?
I just don't like the Pickford.
Oh.
He's Flynn Rider from Tangled.
I mean, but look, Dwayne, Superman and Batman are technically the same. They're both complex in their own way, too. Because Superman has to deal with never meeting his parents. And, well, I mean, he did technically meet his father, but still, I mean, he never met his mother. How come his mother didn't use that little electronic stuff and pop up how the father did?
Yeah, that was something that
Yeah, Dwayne.
it didn't. Oh,
Wait, who is he?
I thought he.
that's
That's
Shazam.
Shazam.
That's
That's
not.
the
I
Jewish
thought Jack
kid from
Grazer
It
was
was.
Shazam.
no.
Are you already, bro?
So he's Kid Shazam.
Look at the LED
But I thought
on
Jack
this
Grazer
tree.
was Shazam, the kid in Shazam.
Oh no,
He's adorable.
no! I kept saying no. It's the one with the hoodie. That's Shazam.
I don't know. I'm sad.
His costume sucks.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, it's like the original one.
No, okay. It didn't have that
Is
big
this?
LED.
Oh, is this supposed to be like a comedy thing?
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Dark comedy?
It's supposed to be big, pretty much. That's what they kept saying. It's like big.
That's a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I actually have it on DVD right there, right over there. And that is
He,
some-
oh no, he
No.
just
No.
did the flaws.
Yep, he just did it. He just did it.
My boy.
Oh,
So this is what you get, guys, for complaining DC's too dark. You get this.
Dwayne.
You get
Dwayne,
that.
Dwayne, look at me.
I didn't complain that DC.
Dwayne.
No, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm just talking about other people that say DC's too dark.
Dwayne.
But actually, I think this makes sense because DC comics are actually lighter than Marvel comics.
I'm going to
It's
disagree.
dark.
Yes, but I'm going to disagree with you
Also,
that DC actually makes dark stories than Marvel.
Shazam
You know, these
could be
used to
Superman.
be at least the OG comics, the
Used-
original comics from like when my dad was a kid. DC was a lot lighter.
And then they
than
got
Marvel, right,
darker.
Tara?
So it's like
Tara doesn't know.
so it's like Marvel used to be dark, but now they're lighthearted, and DC used to be lighthearted, and now they're dark.
So I guess this makes sense if you want to go back to the DC roots. This is the original DC. It's
but-
Okay, so even though I lean more towards the dark storylines of DC, I don't want every story to be dark because there is variety. Because characters like Shazam and Flash, they're not dark. They could be lighthearted. Batman could be dark, and then we get Superman lighthearted. Then you go to Aquaman, which is kind of like a middle ground. And so is Wonder Woman. So it's like, don't get me wrong, I don't want every movie to be dark, but it's just like you can't have every movie have the Marvel formula because you're going to kill the comic book industry faster if everything is the same, you know?
What is the Marvel formula?
The Marvel formula is being
You're about to talk.
Go ahead, Tara.
Well, I was gonna say that like Marvel's owned by Disney, so they have to keep throwing in comic relief like every single corner. But like DC has some comic relief. I've laughed at DC movies not because they're bad, but because they have funny things in them, and they're still dark and still good.
Yes, so you can have comedic stuff in there, but you still keep with the grounded adult tone. It can work. You don't have to go a full 180 Suicide Squad.
Right. Part of Marvel is owned by Disney. Other part is owned by Sony.
And Fox.
And Fox. Sony and Marvel just came out with last year came out with Spider-Man: Homecoming, and that was actually a very relatively lighthearted movie, especially compared to Black Panther or Infinity War, especially.
Yeah.
So
Wakanda forever.
actually, Spider-Man: Homecoming actually made me laugh a lot more than other comedy movies.
Yeah.
It was very lighthearted very often. So it was like, I think that's Marvel's signature. It's not only just Disney. It's always been Marvel's signature of adding those comic reliefs and making things funny, and that's what people appeal to so much. You know, you get that break from the stress, and that's why symphony producers, or
Symphony.
like music producers, when they make a symphony or they make a trail of songs to play for a concert, they will bring tension and lots of tension and then slow it down. Or even in just one song, it'll be a lot of tension and then slow it down, so you get that nice break and then bring back the tension for a big finish. So it's like that's always been the formula for movies.
Marvel.
And DC kind of lacks in that at times, and that's why the appeal isn't very strong.
Marvel is always doing that, though. They're always
That's the
slowing
problem.
down the tension.
Now,
Well, DC doesn't do that enough sometimes.
yes, and now in that, I think Marvel and DC are two extremes of opposite coins. Now, Spider-Man: Homecoming, if you guys seen our Marvel podcast, you guys know I love that film, and that's my second favorite Spider-Man movie, and the comedy did work in that film.
First favorite.
was my first favorite.
Yeah.
The first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. That just holds a special place in my heart because that's the first Spider-Man film I watched.
That's Dwayne.
And I didn't have as much problems with that one than I did with 2 and 3. But yeah, so that tone for Spider-Man Homecoming worked for that. But I don't want that same tone for something like Thor 3. I'm sorry. I tried to like Ragnarok. I really did. But that tone does not work for that character. And with Black Panther, I'm so glad Black Panther came out and it was, it wasn't as funny as it was as something like Spider-Man. It was more mature and adult because up until that point, I was getting really irritated with them just shoehorning in humor just because. Not because it's natural to the characters, but it's just...
DC. I feel like they've not shoehorning.
They are. They always been shoehorning. The only franchise in Marvel where it worked for the most part was Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man. And the first Iron Man movie.
Have you seen Watchmen?
Well, Spider-Man
Have
definitely
you seen
works
Watchmen?
because they're high school characters.
You have not seen Watchmen?
No.
Tara, go home and watch Watchmen.
But it's like, I feel like ever since the first Iron Man movie, that movie was so successful and it had really good comedic moments.
Nobody here has watched Watchmen besides me and him.
Right.
Okay, look, bro.
That has to be a
hang on.
That has to be a movie
watch
night.
it for free.
Go.
Well, I have
somewhere
it.
on your phone.
I have it.
So, Watchmen, we declared to be the best DC movie.
Wait. It's definitely one of them.
No,
I'm not sure yet, man. I'm not sure yet, but I will agree with you. It is one of the best they made. Okay, that's another conversation in itself when we have the podcast eventually, when we talk about the greatest comic book films ever made. We could talk about that. But, what was I even talking about? But, that tone of Iron Man where it balanced the adult stuff, and it had some really good comedic moments also. And I think since that movie was successful, they're trying to make every movie after that have a similar tone, which doesn't work for all of them. I'm getting oversaturated with the humor. I'm not saying not have it at all, but I still think they put humor in stuff that is unnecessary. Ultron was one of my favorite villains in the Avengers, and they made him a comedian, and he's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok was supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Thor films, and they turned that into a comedy. Iron Man 3 was supposed to be the most complex Iron Man story we have, and they turned that into a comedy.
I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that these are all comedies. Deadpool was a comedy almost. Spider-Man Homecoming could have been debated as a comedy, but like these other movies I feel like were definitely action movies with a lot of comedic relief, especially to appeal to all ages.
I'm over exaggerating when I say comedy. I'm not saying every aspect was a comedy, but I'm saying that specific aspect was a comedy. Ultron itself was not supposed to be cracking jokes. It's a robot. It's an android. It's supposed to be this dark, cynical droid that kills people. And if that's too heavy for you, I don't know what to tell you. That's the character. And also Iron Man 3, not only was that barely serious at all, but the trailers are literally promoting a film that was more complex and was diving into Iron Man's psyche more than the movie that I watched. The humor is so much that I don't feel anything. You're saying you don't feel anything when there's no humor and there's dark fights like Batman and Superman? I feel nothing when you're just putting comedy in my face when I'm supposed to feel emotion and weight to a character. That is my problem. Not everybody sees it that way, and that's fine. But for me, I'm okay with there barely being any jokes in BVS, and especially Suicide Squad, because the tone that they are establishing and the story that they're establishing in those films call for it to be dark. You guys gotta understand, this is like years of built-up frustration. Because literally, I felt like a DC fan in the closet. I can't talk to anyone about this without being destroyed. So this is me just venting. So I'm not angry at anybody. I'm not. I'm just trying to explain.
Well, I know, but
Yes.
to only talk about the the comedy of everything. I guess it's just that, especially nowadays, people tend to use comedy to escape from everyday drastic problems. Like when just life problems that people go through, like stress of money and stuff like that. So it's like people use comedy to try to just get through those hard times. Am I right? Like people will, like, that's what memes are for. Am I right? So it's like, that's what I feel like. If I were a superhero, I would be cracking jokes all the time, just because, to hide the fact that I am so stressed out of being a superhero, So I feel like it's fitting to be comedic as a superhero. For me, that's how I feel. And then with DC, I just feel sometimes overwhelmed. Like, I can't think of one joke in Man of Steel. They don't want to be, they want to be dark and off-putting, almost, and uneasy. But sometimes people don't react to that very well because they don't get a break. They're constantly stressed, and eventually that stress, like, builds up, That's just what I'm saying. It's just that, like, people get over. That's why people, like, attack DC for what it is. I appreciate DC for what it is, but I prefer Marvel because of the light.
Hey, bro.
Okay.
The later effect.
I think if you can't get through a movie without there being any comedy in it, then you're kind of screwed, because there's movies that they can't throw any comedy relief into, like just like movies that are based off of true events, like the Holocaust and stuff.
Well, even
Did you
Saving
say
Private Ryan. I was gonna
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. But even that had a comedic relief in it.
Not enough.
There were soldiers
Not
sitting
enough.
on Private Ryan trying to keep him protected.
Talk about DC being dark. I literally felt like I wanted to kill myself after watching Saving Private Ryan. It was
Bro,
so.
can you stop saying Saving Private Ryan?
But like, there's like
stop saying
movies
that
like
movie, bro?
Schindler's List, and that's a great movie.
Yeah,
And
Schindler's
you
List.
can't make jokes about
And
it.
that's another one where I'm like, oh my god, I'm just so. It drains the life out of me. So I'm like, literally, the DC films feel like Sesame Street compared to those type of movies. So I'm like, I understand what you're saying, that you prefer the lighthearted stuff in Marvel, but it's like, it's hard for me to see that when people accept other films that are darker than that. And I'm not just talking about regular films, I'm talking about comic book movies that were darker than that, like Logan, where it only had like one maybe lighthearted thing in there, but everything was dark and cynical up to that point. So I'm like, we can't just have every if there's a comic book, Watchmen, we said we love Watchmen, at least Outrageous and I do. That barely had any jokes in it. It was dark and cynical, but it was still thought it was a well-made
Put the
film.
cleaver in the dude's head.
You freaking slicing people's arms off.
No, what was funny is, give me my mask! Give me my mask!
Wait, Sarah, I want to know your standpoint on comedy in action movies such as DC, or drama movies even. What's your stance in comedic relief?
Well, like I said, you should be able to get through a movie without having to laugh, because that was my point with, like, Schindler's List. You can't make a joke out of a movie like that. Like, sure, there's Holocaust jokes, but, like, there's a time and place to put those jokes in there. Right. So if you can't, like, yes, it's a superhero movie, which isn't real, but you should be able to get through an action movie without there being, like, a random knock joke in there.
Punchline or
that.
joke.
Yeah, punchline or anything like that.
I think that, well, I see what you're saying, but
it's
when
like where
people go to see Schindler's List or a drama such as that, or Saving Private Ryan or Dunkirk, they don't expect to hear funny jokes. They expect a serious movie with good cinematography and an interesting storyline that you learn something from. It's targeting a different audience. DC and Marvel tend to target the same audience for some reason, and they haven't found a way to separate the two. So after people go and see Marvel and enjoy that comedic relief, that same audience goes to see DC movies. And when that happens, they get all antsy because DC movies are serious. It's almost like taking that exact same audience and shoving them into Schindler's List screening. It's like, whoa, I don't want to, it's that type of thing. And that's why I think older people tend to relate or tend to enjoy DC movies a lot more than Marvel movies, because they like the serious effect of it. Whereas kids these days prefer that break. That's why you probably won't see 16-year-olds going and watching Schindler's List on Netflix. They're probably watching The Office, you know?
But like, when I started watching superhero movies when I was just a kid, I didn't go into them expecting to laugh until I saw the Spider-Man 3, and it was completely silly, and then every other Marvel movie after that is really silly and has jokes in it. I'm not going to see superhero movies because they're going to make me laugh. I'm going for action and excitement.
Right.
And I feel like that was just like going back to like Man of Steel and BVS. I think that was just like people putting expectations on the film that the movie was not trying to do. Like they're looking at the trailers, for example. They're looking at it and be like, oh, this is going to be like a turn your brain off action picture. You're going to see Batman and Superman fight for 2 hours. But no, it wasn't a movie about Batman and Superman fighting. It was about the world reacting to Batman and Superman fighting. So it's like people. That's why I'm just saying, like, because when we have different genres in the comic books industry, we should have the same thing when it comes to movies. That's why comic books was very successful, because there wasn't just all comic books had the same tone, or not every comic book had the same joke. Some was grounded, some was sci-fi, some was whimsical, some was like dark. So I'm like, why can't we do the same? Like Fox, I don't like those X-Men movies. I don't like most of them, but hold on. You gotta understand. I love the X-Men. I love them so much. I love all the characters, but I don't like those X-Men films. There's a couple of them that I enjoy.
Juggernaut suck. Juggernaut pissed me off.
Anyway, get to the point. I don't like most of those X-Men films, but I respect it because it is a different tone from the MCU movies, and they don't just stick with one tone with all the movies. There's one where you have the straightforward X-Men films that are the superhero movies, and then you go to Deadpool, which is a dark comedy, and then you have Logan, which is a western. And so it's like, that's what I want universes to do. I don't want all of them to be the same tone, light or dark. You can have different stuff here and there, but just know where it needs to be placed. That is what I'm saying. If people enjoy the lighthearted stuff more, that's fine. You can go and watch those movies, but you still need to have other films that can appeal to different audiences. That's what I'm saying.
And that's actually, like, to go off what you're saying, I actually kind of prefer that times were different and situation was different, because I acknowledge the fact that the same people who see Marvel movies are most likely going to see DC movies, and they're probably going to be, if they like Marvel, then they might not like DC, or vice versa. The thing is that I wish times situations could possibly even be different, and either they would acknowledge the fact that, hey, you're going to see a DC movie, so don't expect to laugh, or they just don't see it, and DC and Marvel have two separate audiences. It would make Comic-Con kind of stressful, but still, it's like, I almost prefer that way, because that way there's no problems with, oh, it's too lighthearted, it's too dark, and stuff like that, and people would just expect to go see it. So I'm making a generalized statement. This whole time I've been making a generalized statement of, like, personally, I don't like it, and I see why other people don't like it and stuff like that. But, like, if I put myself in a mindset where I'm like, okay, I'm going to see a DC movie, don't expect to laugh, I'm going to see an intense fight scene with aggressive cinematography, I am pretty sure I am much more likely to like it and appreciate it and understand the storyline and just enjoy myself through that whole process than I am when I'm like, okay, I'm going to see a superhero movie, so I might laugh type of thing, because that's what Marvel has kind of brought upon us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I almost wish that people would just put themselves in the right mindsets when going to watch movies, just like when I was saying, when Tara was bringing up, like, Holocaust movies, or like Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, so it's like people put themselves in mindset of going to see a war movie, a World War II movie, or Dunkirk, or something like that, so it's like people put themselves in that mindset, so they're most likely to enjoy it, I think.
It's
that
like
make sense?
yes, it's
Okay.
it's pretty much like the Pixar films versus anime. So it's like
Yeah.
those appeal to two very different audiences, and most people lump it all in the same category because they're both animated.
Yeah.
So it's like
And
it's
that
not
only
fair.
it only leaves other people disappointed because that's not what they are.
Yeah.
Anime is not the same as Pixar. DC isn't the same as Marvel. Disney isn't the same as Universal. Whatever, you
Yeah.
know.
Exactly.
Whatever it may
mean,
be.
Exactly.
I mean, me speaking, from personal experience, if I watch Marvel, I'm going to watch DC. But, I mean, DC isn't sucking because it's too dark. It's sucking
Because the
quality
writing is
for-
not great. Yes, though people, I've just been hearing certain people just automatically don't like the films because they're dark.
I mean, no, look, bro,
You know?
look, Wonder Woman did amazing.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman did amazing.
Yeah.
It's Justice League that sucked. Suicide Squad that people suck, but I enjoyed.
I did like it.
Batman vs Superman was not done. You know, it wasn't approved by the audience.
Wasn't
Wasn't
approved by-
I actually kind of appreciated it.
I do.
Okay.
I do too. We'll get to that when
I
we
do
get
too,
there.
but I
But
can't-
It's not my favorite. It's definitely like.
I don't think that was the best comic book film ever made. No, I don't even think it's great. But I just think there's some good ideas in here. There's some great concepts that I would like to see
Martha was a
branch.
mistake.
We'll get to that.
That
We'll
was
get to that. We'll get to that. I don't want to. Can we get to Man of Steel? Because
But
we've
hang
been on
bro,
a tirade.
hang on. Logan
No.
is the best. Is
Lo-
the best
lo-
Wait,
comic
can we
book.
talk about the writing for Man of Steel? Actually, this is actually a big point, though.
Okay, sure.
Oh, is it me first?
Did you want to talk about the writing?
yeah, I
It's like
think
you had
so.
something to say about it.
Well, okay. Well, I thought you were gonna like
Okay.
do it first or something, but like,
Well,
I
no.
can.
Well, okay. So I could say something real quick then. I
Okay.
guess. Okay, the writing. I think the writing is good, not great. Good, not great, because I was still invested in his storyline from start to finish. There were some holes here and there, yes, but overall, I thought it was a well-made script. They just needed to look at it a few more times and make sure stuff made sense. There was some stuff that was clunky and heavy-handed in there, especially with the tornado scene, because I don't like the tornado scene either, bruh. So don't get me wrong, I don't like that. And there's some stuff with General Zod that I thought could have been done better.
What, bro? He was amazing.
No, with him, he was great, but I'm talking about like breaking his neck.
I mean, look, bro,
But-
no. For me, why was Zod trying to destroy Earth?
Zod was trying to destroy Earth because his race got completely destroyed,
So-
and he was. First of all, they also established that they don't have natural births on their planet. They're pretty much born in the cocoon, like the Matrix. Yep. So pretty much they have been raised, especially him, has been raised since a child to be dedicated to his people and being like a merciless soldier / general. So pretty much he's out there to save his race, pretty much, and he sees the only way to do that is to pretty much take the Earth and mold it into Krypton so it can live again. Also, to extract the codex from Superman's mind. For those of you who don't know what that is, the codex is that skull in the beginning of the movie that encodes all the DNA from all the Kryptonians throughout history. And in the beginning of the movie, Jor-El implanted the codex into Superman so it can live on through him wherever planet he's going to, which ended up being Earth. And he believes he's doing the right thing because he just wants to save his people. That's what he's dedicated to. He thinks
So, so is Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther, basically.
or Thanos, pretty much. Like, yeah, so
Thanos wasn't trying to say, okay. No, I take it back.
balance the universe, pretty much, because his homeworld got destroyed also. Because people didn't listen. It's like Krypton, pretty much. But that's why he believes he's doing the right thing. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes great villains and what makes scary villains.
Quoting Spider-Man.
Yeah, keep calling Spider-Man, but it applies here. That's why I think Zod is one of the best villains in DC, pretty much.
He is, but he also sucks,
Yes.
too.
Why?
He's trying to destroy Earth to save his planet. I mean, he's a general and stuff, and if he's for freaking life and stuff, he shouldn't be trying to destroy people to save his
He's
people.
not for life. He's for his own life.
I know, but that freaking sucks, bro.
It does suck, but that's just how he thinks. He's still a villain at the end of the day. He's still a psychopath. So that's the one thing. It's like, yeah, you understand his motives, but at the same time, you need to stop him.
Yeah.
So that's why when we get to the infamous neck-breaking scene, yeah, I did feel bad, but at the same time, he needed to die.
No, he didn't.
He needed to die because if he stayed alive, he would have killed every human being on that planet.
Bro, Superman proved he was. Okay, I take that back. They could have did something to him.
Like I said,
Superman knew he was immune to kryptonite. He could have got some kryptonite on Zod, dude.
the kryptonite wasn't established in that movie yet.
Okay, dude.
They didn't even know what kryptonite was until BBS.
I just think the writing was actually.
That's the thing. That's the clunkiness of the writing there because they wrote it in a way where that had to happen.
No,
it's like
I'm actually. You guys would probably be surprised, but I think the writing was actually very, very good.
It was
in Man of Steel. And that's the thing though. On a literary perspective, I can tell what writers are trying to do. It was understandable. It wasn't very hard to, and I don't know. It wasn't that hard to comprehend, and I did enjoy the tornado scene. I did appreciate it. That's the thing is that I did actually appreciate it. I think mainly it was because of Henry Cavill.
Yes, Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill's performance in it. It was very strong, and once again, it was just another example of one of the people that Superman looks up to doing something for the greater good. Sacrificing himself. It was it was once again a biblical illusion. He practically gave up his life for somebody else.
Yeah.
It was a dog, but it was very cool. And then at the same time, he also gave up his life because he didn't want Superman to, he believed in Superman being private,
Mm-hmm.
And with that very same reason, he was able to convince Lois Lane not to, send out the papers and expose Superman,
Yeah.
And that's what got Lois Lane on his side. So that was actually a very important part of the plot, So, I don't know. I just personally feel like
I actually agree.
The writing made sense. It flowed together, and I caught on.
Yeah, I actually agree with all those points. I saw what they were trying to do with the tornado scene, but it's just the way the scene was structured. I felt was very clunky. But yeah, it's just the why I thought that tornado scene was clunky was because the way they were trying to get prepared for the tornado coming. I'm sorry. You don't go under a freaking, what were they in? A freaking building, whatever, and just huddle in there. I know, but it's you.
It was, what was it, a bridge?
I know they had.
Yeah, I think it was a bridge. Yeah.
They had to go. I bet you they had basements.
Basement or something, but
They
it's
didn't have basements on the freeway. They were stuck in traffic.
Okay, fine.
That's
but
why
it's
you go under an underpass.
Yeah, they went under an underpass. That was what it is. Thank you, Tara.
Okay.
Or an overpass.
Wait a minute, bro.
Overpass.
Did Superman really save a dog over his dad?
No, the dad saved the dog,
Oh.
and then he got injured, and then the Superman was gonna save the dad, and then dad went, "No, son, goodbye," and then he flew away, just like the Wicked Witch of the West.
That part was weird too. He just put his hand up, and then the tornado just comes and he doesn't react. He's just standing there. He doesn't get sucked up at all. I'm like,
That was beautiful cinematography. No,
that was beautiful cinematography, but it's just.
him and you didn't see it.
But it's literally he's just standing there, and the tornado's just Now, if there was an actual, I'm just criticizing this because the movie is trying to be very grounded and realistic. So if we're under the rules that is grounded and realistic, if a tornado was up that close, he would have been sucked up like that.
He wanted
out of nowhere.
I don't feel so good moment.
Seriously, exactly. So I'm that was just odd to me. That was weird. Now, Cavill's performance there was great. He was reacting like he was freaking out. He wanted to help. I was getting it. I got it. I got it, Zach. I did. But it's just, you could have structured that scene better. It's just, they were trying to be so, like, whimsical and methodical about that. So just putting his hand up and just standing there.
I mean,
Symbolism,
I get,
you know?
It was artistic. It was an artistic approach, but I do like how it almost acted as a very meaningful, like a goodbye between father and son. It was those two looking at each other for the last time, you know? I didn't really want to see Superman just watching his dad, like, fly away in a tornado. You know?
Okay, I must be a sick bastard. I wanted to see that.
He's like getting flushed down the toilet or something, and you just it's like watching your fish go down the drain.
That would have been more.
That would what I say. Yeah, goodbye.
That would have hit me more.
Out of the tornado.
Yeah, that would have hit me more if it was like very like dark like that. If he got sucked up like that, and Cavill's like, I'm like, dang, I felt that,
bro.
I think it was very whimsical. It was like a goodbye son moment, you know? It was like, yeah.
Bro, I swear, his dad's not dead, bro. He's not in Kansas.
Well, because he keeps coming back in BVS and that stuff.
Just gotta find his red shoes.
Yes.
No. Sappy heels.
Okay, so since we're talking about Jonathan Kent, I want to address, because people had problems with him because they thought he was a horrible parent that was teaching them bad moral lessons, and I'm like, no, that's not the case. The thing is that they're portraying Jonathan Kent as a regular person, a human being that doesn't know all the answers. Because people are just saying, like when they said, what should I have done? Just let the kids die? And he says maybe, and people are saying, oh, that means he's bad and like, oh, he's a horrible person. No, he just doesn't know how to go about that situation.
I just want to say this.
Yeah.
So what you said about him being a human and not knowing everything, even Superman went to the church, if you remember, and asked that dude, what do I do? If you remember, towards the end.
I mean, yeah, because Superman does need help, so it's like, I don't like dock points because Jonathan didn't know what to do at that time because he didn't. Because if I was a father and I had to raise our superpowered alien being, I wouldn't know how to go about him dealing with everyday life, really. And it's like, yeah, it's horrible if the kids had to just lay there and die, but it would have been more traumatizing if after that point the government was hunting them down and just taking them to Area 51 to be dissected.
So are you trying to justify Superman killing people?
No, I thought it was great that he saved the kids on the bus, but it also makes you think how dangerous that could have been to have him exposed, because at the end of the day, that's his son. He doesn't want him to get taken away. So if there's have to be sacrifices made, he had to consider that.
Superman
but it's like
flew away if somebody tried to take him.
He's a kid. He doesn't know how to fly. He didn't know how to fly. If he knew how to fly, he would have flown with the bus out of the river. But he didn't. He didn't know how to fly. That's the thing. That's the big lesson that they were showing throughout the movie. He doesn't know how to use his powers, and it was a gradual progression. Which reminds me, actually, we didn't talk about this character that much. Martha Kent, played by Diane Lane. I thought she was excellent in the film. I thought her relationship with Clark was one of the best dynamics in the film, and also along with Lois Lane, they were the closest connections that Clark had to Earth, really. And it was very inspiring and very touching to see through the flashbacks throughout the film how Clark's development with Martha, built on top of itself. Like, she's pretty much the one to help Clark ground himself with his powers. For example, I remember the one scene where when Clark was a kid and he was in school, his laser eyes and his x-ray vision and all that was going out of control, and he ran into a closet, and Martha had to come to the school and calm him down, and that whole speech of pretend it's an island and stuff like that. That stuff I thought was very, very good. It's just, I just love that dynamic that Martha has, and definitely she's one of the people that helped Clark hold in his powers and help him realize who he wants to be, when he becomes Superman. So the first time he flew was when he was a 30-year-old man, and even then he flew into a mountain when he tried to do that.
The first time Zod flew, it was his first day on Earth. I don't want to hear anything about that.
Because he was trained since he was a baby to know how to use
He
his
didn't have
senses.
superpowers, Dwayne. He didn't have superpowers.
That's fine, but he still trained his senses better than Superman.
Dwayne,
And especially because Superman has been on an alien planet, Earth, he's not used to the customs of a Kryptonian. So yeah, he reacted slower than other Kryptonians when they were trained to know that mentally. It's not just physical; it's mental stuff.
You know, man, I'm gonna use my inside voice on this debate.
Okay, go ahead.
Tara,
Tara.
stop being
man.
so shame.
Look, man.
Shame.
Shaming.
Okay, look.
Shame.
I'm about to explain this.
All right.
They were both Kryptonians. Yes, one was trained, but one was just born. Superman was on the planet longer than Zod, and it took him time to get his powers. But I don't care how much Zod was trained. He came to Earth the first day. He said, "Ah!" And it said, freaking got his powers, bro. You cannot justify the fact that Zod is a freaking hack. He is a hack, and I don't care.
Okay. I don't see it that way, but I understand why you think that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I want.
All right. All right.
But Zod was just more powerful. That's what
I mean,
Zod.
yeah, he's just more
Yeah.
trained.
Technically, Zod is supposed to be stronger than
Zod
Superman.
is older. Yeah.
Hack.
Yeah, he is a hack. But
Okay.
All right. But anyway, so I don't think Jonathan was a horrible person. He's just trying his best to teach his son how to go about things. And at the end of the day, I think he still succeeded because he was raised right. He's not like when the scene when he was working at the bar or whatever, he could have ripped that guy's limbs off when he was messing with the girl and him, but he didn't. You know why? Because Jonathan raised him to be a good person.
I have a question.
I think one reason why he couldn't have just saved the family from the laser eyes. He was holding Zod's head.
He could have. Oh.
He could have turned it the other way, and then once he let go of Zod's head, Zod would snap right back and kill them.
No, oh my gosh, he could have threw him up. He could have did that and then jumped back up.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. Yes, he could have done that. Yes, the family had enough space to run away. However,
that was ridiculous.
yes, that was ridiculous. I'll admit that. But even if he flew him up and took him out of the building, what makes you think he's not going to try again with somebody else?
Okay.
That's what Superman was preventing from happening because they established, Zod said he's going to kill every human one by one. Yes, he could have stopped the truck from crashing into the parking structure. Yes, he could have not crashed Zod into a gas station. He's just learning, guys. He just found out his whole life he's trying to figure out his superpowers. He just learned how to fly when he was 33.
Okay. I guess he tried his best, but still, he killed people.
Okay. I think, okay, for me, because I've seen this movie like 20 times, and I've watched all the fights, analyzed it, so I know what I'm talking about. Superman only made 20% of the damage. Everyone else didn't. The Kryptonians were the one doing most of the damage. Superman could have been more careful, but this is a newborn baby Superman, 33-year-old Superman that just learned how to use his powers correctly. So yes, he's going to cause some destruction here and there, but not as bad as the Kryptonians, bruh.
I have no words, man.
The Kryptonians did mainly the main damage. People are lumping Superman with the Kryptonians with collateral damage wise because they're all getting into fights with each other. So it's like
the Kryptonians, bro.
Superman and the military.
I don't give a crap what the military is. Superman.
I just think that there's this theory that I don't remember, but it's in philosophy. I forgot what it's called. Where it's you have two options. So you can either save many people, but kill one, or vice versa. What do you do? And I think in this situation, he made a choice that sometimes we as people are faced with, where it's like, what does the most, or what choice makes the least damage? Odds are he was going to make damage, and I think he contemplated it in his head, and he came to the conclusion that if he is still alive, he's not going to stop, and he's just going to hurt and potentially kill more people. So either end it now, or
wait for something worse to happen.
Batman would have made the same decision if he was but no one ever wrote Batman into a decision like that, so it hasn't happened.
Well, Ra's al Ghul.
Huh?
Ra's al Ghul.
Oh.
Did you know Ra's al Ghul has a unique set of skills, bro?
Yes, for instance, he has a certain particular set of skills.
Oh
But yeah, it's like
Love it.
that's a similar thing that Batman had to deal with in Batman Begins with Ra's al Ghul. So it's like it's happened.
He obviously doesn't want to. He obviously wants to keep that, personality, or little persona of his that he doesn't kill, just like Batman. But he was faced with a situation where he had no choice. It was either one or the other. And he made a decision that was very hard on him because it was ultimately a negative decision, but the other one was even more negative. So. It's a very basic thing that people are going to argue, and yeah, it is a fact he did kill somebody, but he killed a bad guy.
Yeah, Zod needed to die. I'm sorry. It's like, you cannot have this guy alive.
He was trained from birth to be someone who would potentially wipe out a planet just to bring back alive his planet. He had that whole ideology since basically day one.
Yes.
Am I right? So
yes. Now, could he have went into the Phantom Zone with the other Kryptonians? Yes, but they didn't write it that way, sadly. It could have been much less heartbreaking if they did it, but they actually did that on purpose to make you feel, oh, that sucked. And they did their job that way. How did you guys feel about Amy Adams as Lois Lane?
No.
Hard pass.
Let me tell you something, Dwayne. Let me tell you something.
Oh my god.
Okay, so I guess I am...
They can't see that. He put
thumbs down.
Look at it,
They're not
man.
gonna see that. They're not gonna
Nobody's
see
going
that.
to see that.
It sucked. She sucked.
Okay.
She sucked, Dwayne.
So I'm going to
She's
be...
a great actress.
Yeah.
No, but Lois Lane.
But this was wrong.
So I'm going to be in the minority because I liked her. I thought she was good. Now, there was some stuff about her that I didn't like.
What? What did you not like?
The measuring dicks line.
Yeah, that's what Tara and I were just talking about that.
What the-
What?
Yeah, when he's in the Arctic, when she's in the Arctic talking to the guys, it's like, yo, can we stop measuring dicks or whatever?
She thinks she's a bad butt mother trucker.
And I'm sorry,
Stop.
I'm sorry, but you are.
But she gonna stick.
I'm sorry, but you're Amy Adams. I'm sorry, that does not work. She feels more like Lana Lang than Lois Lane, so that's probably why I liked her more, because Lois Lane I like her, but she's irritating sometimes. Even in the TV shows and the comic books, it's like she's like a worse version of Mary Jane to me.
Bro, she is Daphne, bro. Yeah. She gets in trouble and help me,
yes.
Help.
And I'm getting sick of the cat and mouse game with Superman. Be like, oh, Clark likes Lois, but Lois likes Superman, but Superman doesn't feel that way. So every iteration of Superman, I just want them to get together because I'm sick of them just doing the will they won't they bull crap, and they not only did they do that,
but they did get together. If you remember the beginning of BBS, because it transitioned.
Well, that's the continuation of this movie. So
I'm just trying to prove a point.
I know. So at that point, I was like, yes, and I was really excited that they were going to get married, but they didn't do that in Justice League. But anyway, I will let you finish. I promise. I just want to get my thing across real quick. It's just like I'm glad that they didn't make her naive and falling over the trap of, oh, I put on glasses, you don't know who I am. From the moment she sees him, she recognizes who he is, because this is a reporter we don't forget that, you know, she's supposed to know these type things, and for her to not know, oh, I put on glasses, I'm a different person, that was kind of silly to me. So I'm glad that they just had it be like, oh, Lois knows who he is.
Actually, some people may not actually recognize him, bro. Okay, look. I'm proving something. Can you recognize with me without my glasses off? Do I look different?
No.
Not really. I mean, your eyes look a little bigger, but I still recognize it's you.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, there's certain instances when people don't pay attention, when they're not wearing glasses or when they are wearing glasses. Oh, you don't notice them right away. But Lois Lane is one of the best reporters in the country who investigates stuff on a daily basis. So for you to not know that that's Clark Kent / Superman, that's kind of dumb to me. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then they immediately established the relationship that they had. I thought that was kind of rushed, to be honest. It was a little bit rushed, but it felt more fleshed out in BVS to me. But it's like, this part, I'm like, okay, I get that they're close friends, but they just rushed the kiss right after the people got sucked into the Phantom Zone. I'm like, oh, you know, it all goes downhill after the first kiss. What? What is this?
Personally,
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
okay, so the biggest problem that made me kind of just go, oh, jeez, you know, like that type of thing, was when Lois Lane came back from, you know, the trip in the snowy mountains, and she started writing about Superman, and she wrote this article that she presented, and basically what she wrote in the article was like, even though it does seem a little off, I know what I saw. And I was like, yeah, Lois, that was great reporting right there. I would definitely want to read that article. Thank you. You know,
Just
so
believe me.
like, yeah, just take my word for it.
That didn't bother me as much because Lois does that in the comic book, so I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yep, she should be like, signed Lois, P.S. Jurassic Park can happen and the Earth is flat. Like, like.
Also, Dwayne, Jurassic Park 3 was amazing, by the way.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Oh gosh.
So you don't like it, right? Yay, we can connect on that level. Yay.
You know what, bro? I don't care, bro. Jurassic Park 3 is amazing. I have it on DVD, bro.
I do too, but I don't watch it that much.
The Spinosaurus, bro? The Spinosaurus?
The Spinosaurus.
Oh, that freaking
Velociraptor! Go! It's calling for help.
Yeah!
Go, bro!
First of all, I hate that.
The Velociraptor hiding in the.
Yep. And it had the hair on it, Dwayne. It had the hair. It had the red eyes, Dwayne.
You cannot
fight that.
You cannot defend that giant flamingo to me. You cannot. You can't.
Those are the scariest.
You cannot.
In Jurassic Park history.
That giant freaking daffodil. Yeah, I hate that Spinosaurus.
Superman.
Yeah, we're talking about Superman.
Jurassic Park can happen.
Now, I'll tell you this.
The Earth is flat.
I'm done with it, but I'll say this. I would rather watch Jurassic Park 3 than Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom any day.
Tell me.
So,
Like merch like in the bio.
okay, so Lawrence Fishburne is Perry White. What do we think?
Bro, Lawrence Fishburne sucked in that
I'm
movie,
not
bro.
a huge Lawrence Fishburne fan, but I thought he was pretty good. Like I liked. I didn't like that, like, towards the end they kind of tried to make him a hero, though.
Yeah.
What do you
He's
mean?
supposed to be a reporter, and then, like, one of the reporters gets stuck under rubble, and she's like, don't leave me, and he's like, we're not gonna leave you.
It's not so much of him being a hero, it's just him being a good person, because, you know, they've known each other for, like, years, so they're not just going to leave her there, you know?
But they're just the
like,
reporters.
if you were stuck under there, and, actually, no, if Shannon was stuck under some debris, what would you do?
Tara would be like,
goodbye!
I was like, oh, Tara, please help me. Can you stay with me? And
She would go.
She'll go, sure.
Yeah, I guess, even though we're all gonna die.
But I'm hungry.
Since we're talking about comic relief, he was one of the few things in the movie that gave some comic relief, and it was more apparent in BVS. So I'm like, I thought he was a good character. He was a good alternative. I know people are mad because, oh, why is Perry white? Like, it doesn't matter. That's not essential to his character.
I don't know who you're talking about, Dwayne.
The head of the head of the Daily Planet.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Are you for real talking about Lawrence Fishburne?
In Man of Steel, yes.
Who's Perry?
That's the name of the. That's the name of the boss from Daily Planet.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, that's his. That's the character's name, Perry White.
So how about that lighting in Man of Steel? It
Yeah,
was good, huh?
yeah. You saw the sun shining, bro.
Oh, really? Because I thought you guys were complaining it was too gray.
Actually, I do prefer it being a little bit more luminous.
It's very realistic, and that's
Yeah.
why it's so shaky during the fight scene. I loved the cinematography, and then like how Christopher Nolan does it in Batman. It's not as realistic. It's more cinematic.
Mhm.
I love that.
Versus realistic. It's like The Office versus something not as good.
To be honest, I don't appreciate, and that's why I prefer Parks and Rec over The Office, is because the camera is less shaky in Parks and Rec. The cinematography, that is, and not necessarily the shows. But like, the thing is that in Man of Steel, it was just a little bit too shaky for me, in my own personal opinion. And with the lighting and everything, yes, it was a little bit too cold for me. One example of Marvel being very illuminated is actually Guardians of the Galaxy, and sometimes that is a little bit too
look at that color,
for me,
Dwayne.
where it's almost a little bit too
color, bro.
fantastical, even like we're almost watching like what is it, like kind of like a Ready Player One type of feel, where it's very too, like, it is a little bit too much for even a superhero movie, but like, doesn't mean I don't love the movie. I think it's, sometimes you need to find the happy medium between like too bright and too cold, like most DC movies. That's why I appreciate the original Avengers movie, so that I feel like with lighting and with color scheme, I think that actually worked really well. And that's why I also like the original Spider-Man movies or the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like, I feel like I just want to feel like I'm watching a comic movie, you know?
They do that in the movies that have like different worlds in them. Like Guardians of the Galaxy is all in space, so it's very colorful. And then if you look at Thor, it's literally Rainbow Road. So
Yeah, it's Mario Kart.
Yeah. Now,
which I get, you know, and I get it. I just like original superhero movies where I feel like I'm watching almost a comic movie, because that's what you're doing. You're watching the cinematic universe of a comic.
I mean, with Man of Steel, I feel like they did that to set a more serious tone, and with the shaking and stuff, that was to show punching just.
Yeah, but sometimes I get overwhelmed with that. And I totally appreciate that, and I totally get what they're trying to do. If I'm watching this as a movie critic, I would definitely see that and give them points for what they're doing. If I'm watching it as just someone who's just trying to watch a movie and understand what's going on, I would actually kind of prefer not to have that, you know? So it's two different opinions or perspectives. It's just... It honestly depends on what lens I use to watch the movie through, you know?
yes, so for me, I hate shaky cam with a passion. I think it's very lazy filmmaking and direction, especially when it comes to action set pieces. Jason Bourne. But literally, I hate when the movie is it looks like they're letting a monkey shake the camera. It literally... Paranormal Activity.
Blair Witch.
Yes.
Bro, okay, wait. I could not watch Blair Witch because dude literally was doing this.
So I get what Shannon's saying, because normally there are...
That is what he was doing.
They can't see that. So when you say doing this, for all we know that you could be picking your nose.
They were shaking the camera.
They can't see you.
He's getting close to the laptop so people can understand him.
Look, this is racist, bro. They can't see anyone.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Anyway. So So I get where Shannon's saying that, there's certain shaky cam that gives me a headache, because there definitely is movies that do that. But I think in this movie, this was a good way to use shaky cam. Instead of just hiding the action like you don't know how to direct a set piece, they're using the shaky cam to depict what it's like to be in that environment. And when Superman is punching other aliens, you want to feel the weight of that. And
it brings emphasis to their power of, once again, these are aliens on a human planet. Even the planet isn't really ready for this, So I do appreciate the way that they use shaky cam to initiate and to kind of emphasize that point, that these are aliens on a human planet.
And as far as the cinematography, I talked about this in the Marvel podcast, that after Iron Man 3, the cinematography started to get looking more like a television show, because before that it had a more grainy, more of a cinematic scope to them before that in the Phase 1 movies. But Disney decided to use the same digital camera and cinematography they use for their their Disney live action films, whatever, and it doesn't have as much of a cinematic or weight to scenes as they do with this. So that's why I appreciate that it's a little bit more grayer and there's a little bit more grain and stuff. So it's like it feels like more of an experience, where the Marvel films feel like episodes from a TV show with the colors looking like a cartoon sometimes. There are some instances where it works, like Guardians, but they're using that for all the films, and I guess it's because they want to make sure that you can believe that all of these different characters live in the same worlds. So that's why they want to use the same cinematography for all of them. But to me, it doesn't feel as big as it should be from a cinematic standpoint.
But once again, Disney does not have influence on every Marvel film there is.
Are you sure about that?
And there isn't a single Marvel. No, Sony's branch of Marvel.
That's different. But
and we're going to see a lot of DC-like influences on Sony's Venom movie that's coming out. It's going to be a lot darker, but it's not going to be as grainy and dark and blue as most movies, such as The Dark Knight or Superman. And yes, there is going to be comic relief because it's Marvel, but you are going to feel a darker, and Marvel is branching a little bit closer towards DC, and DC is getting a little bit closer towards Marvel. But once again, Disney does not have all of the influence on all Marvel movies.
At this point, they have some say into it, because I feel like...
Well, they do, because they own a branch of Marvel. They own a
big
chunk of it, but they don't...
That's why I said, that's why I said the Phase 1 movies, before Disney bought them, Paramount was making them. Cinematically, they felt different than the other films going forward.
What? Yes, they did.
Yes.
Like, if you watch the first Iron Man, it's completely different tone. There's amazing joking, but he's literally blown up, and that's why he has to have heart surgery, and he lives in a cave, and he fights terrorists. It's completely different tone.
I'm sure they would have done that again.
You watch, the second one, and it starts to get more comical, and the camera changes and the lighting changes. It's just completely different.
Yes, that's why I really emphasize filmmakers using physical film to direct their movies, because there it gives more of a cinematic scope to it, instead of using digital cameras where it looks too clean and polished and colorful, and just the scope is cut in half.
So you want to have less clear of an image.
You can still have a clear image, but it's it looks like something from a Blu-ray. It's what?
Because we have Blu-ray, though, they're trying to appeal to the Blu-ray goers. But I do agree with you. I do appreciate film authenticity, but at the same time, imagery is evolving and people are trying to evolve with it.
I get it. That's just my personal taste.
I got you.
I guess. What did you guys think about Feora?
Who the freak is Feora?
I go away.
That was the girl that was with General Zod.
Oh, bro.
Stand her.
She messed up. I don't care about her character, bro. She destroyed Superman.
Yeah,
She destroyed Superman, bro.
that's true.
I thought she was badass, but
She
Superman's
was.
a baby.
Yeah. This is a fresh new
She needs
Superman.
She needs to pick on someone her own size. She needs to stop picking on poor baby Superman and leave him alone and go back to wherever she came from. Because I didn't like her.
I don't understand why everyone else that was like with General Zod was talking like a normal person. Then she was like, "Should I tell General Zod you are not willing to come?"
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
No, but her suit.
She's just playing it up.
She's just playing it up. She's chewing scenery.
Their suits were sweet.
Their suits were great. Yes.
Oh yeah. Costume gets 110%.
Yes, and
The
those were
fight.
CGI, by the way, and you couldn't tell. Those are CGI.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
They are CGI.
That's good CGI.
How do they make real masks like that? Especially in 5 years ago? So it was 2013.
Yeah. Yep. So yes, they improved a lot from Green Lantern. I'm glad, but yeah. So I thought she was cool, but yeah, she does seem like she was speaking kind of Shakespearean while everyone was acting normally.
She's a robot. She's android.
I think
she's like she thinks she's in Ex Machina. She's in the wrong film.
Well, I think it's just because she was trying to be unsettlingly cold, and I kind of got that. It did work with, also how badass she was fighting in her scenes. So I'm like, I thought it worked for me, but I get there's not much to her character, and there never was. So it's like,
if
it's
I
fine.
talked to my mom the way that she talked to Lois, I would have gotten. Just kidding.
And let's not forget the Feora in Superman 2 was obsessed with getting a bunch of badges from people and just putting it on their person. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
what is wrong with you?
I just don't
Can you talk about
personally
Supergirl film?
like that.
No!
I enjoyed that.
No! Absolutely not!
Okay.
No!
Okay, I struck a nerve.
No!
I struck a nerve.
We're not talking about that garbage. That was the worst. Supergirl is the worst DC film to me.
I love every DC movie ever made.
Why the fuck you lying? Anyway.
Okay, so you know what? The more that we're talking about this, and I just want to if I said anything I hate Superman or anything like that, I want to change that now because I like Superman.
Yeah, Superman pissed
I was critical in the beginning of this, but I like Superman. There aren't a lot of superheroes that I'm ugh, but I like Superman. I'm not huge on Aquaman or
maybe the Aquaman movie will change your mind. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe, but I like Superman and Batman and the Flash.
I have a big issue with Superman, bro.
Why?
What is the big issue? I want to know. What's the big
My
issue?
biggest issue, okay, you know what? It involves the comics. He turned. He killed Joker. He killed Batman.
In the comics.
But he still sucks.
It's like an Injustice storyline.
And what I mentioned before, Superman's reproductive stuff makes no sense. He makes no sense.
Is that what you're fixed on? Is his reproductive ability?
Yes.
That's your main concern with Superman?
Yes, Dwayne. No, it's not, bro. He sucks as a character to me. Okay, look, the way I see him, he's straight up Captain America. I'm a fight, do what's right.
That's what I was gonna say. It's Superman and Batman are like Iron Man and Captain America.
But Captain America sucks.
No, he doesn't. Why do you keep saying that? I mean, I feel like he's definitely been around for a very long time, but I've always liked him.
He sucks to me.
Oh my god!
At the end of the day, I'm not expecting any. I mean, I'm glad you came around, Shan, that you liked him. I'm not expecting.
I always liked him.
Yeah.
I just I was definitely critical because it's he's not my favorite superhero. So I think it's strange how you think he's because it's it's kind of like saying what's your favorite ice cream? Vanilla. It's the base ice cream flavor, So it's you could So Superman is like the base superhero. He's the foundation of what superheroes are. And then there's many other different kinds of you could have a half spider, half high school kid, and you choose Superman, So it's like...
And Spider-Man is my third favorite comic book character.
What?
Behind Batman is Superman.
Look, man, okay, fine. I'm going to stop giving Superman hate, but he does annoy me. He's got that Captain America vibe to him. Other than that, he's sweet, bro. His powers are sweet. He was jumping, leaping, beating up people, bro. He was freaking tearing up an IHOP.
I see it. It's the morals that get to you.
Yeah,
I'm about their morals
I
too.
don't want the training wheels, is what you say.
No.
But you don't like Captain America, and he's all about morals too.
I will punch Captain America. It's not
like, why don't you let me go out on Saturday night type of superhero. It's
no, look, I'm all about the morals, bro. I'm all about that. I'm all about Superman.
Okay.
He pisses me off.
And it's okay if he does. I don't expect everyone to love Superman. I know I'm in the minority when I say he's my favorite. And maybe when I'm trying to explain why, you still probably will understand. I think it's just more of a personal connection to me that I have, and it gets really personal. So I don't want to talk about it now. No. But it's like,
I get it, bro.
Yes,
I get it. He wants to do what's right, and I respect him for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to stop hating Superman. Superman is an amazing superhero, and I'm going to stop hating on him, even though in some movies,
yes, there's some movies, I'm like, what the heck?
Superman, and I still maintain that Superman would kick Batman's butt.
Yeah. Now with prep time.
Now with prep time. Oh, goodness gracious, not that prep time.
Batman cheated.
He cheated.
You're not supposed to. You know what? Okay, here's the thing, though, is that if you could put those two in a ring together with no gadgets, like
and with no prep time, Superman would.
Really, Superman could flick his face and he dies.
Yeah.
He can flick his face and his head will explode.
He can breathe on him.
Yeah.
So yes, and then people. Bringing up BVS again. People are like just so bloodthirsty. Like, why didn't Superman just wipe the floor with Batman? Okay, why did he do that? Why? Because that's not how he was raised, and he didn't want to fight him in the first place.
That's not his character.
So yeah. I don't understand what people want. Do you want him to rip people's heads off, or do you not?
Yes, Dwayne.
No, because he's not a murderer. He has morals. I don't want to see Superman going around killing people, and that's the part in the comics that I didn't really like.
Yeah,
that kind of sucks when he killed Joker in that. Was it just like one version, right?
Yeah, that was a
and then
different
it kept
version.
going, and that's why I don't really enjoy Superman, because he's one. If Lois dies, he's gonna snap, and that's what annoys me about him. He's all about righteousness and stuff,
which was a little bit like Marvel-y in a way, because it's like, I mean, it's just Superman's not that kind of person that would lose all of his
morals,
ideology, and his sense of himself. Because of what happens around him,
No, but Superman, I mean, he wasn't justified for what he did, but Joker did make him kill Lois and his baby.
Right.
And then Superman just went, and just basically, he did this to him. He ripped his heart out.
Yeah, exactly, and that's not what, and then Batman's like,
Lord,
no!
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? No!
But like, that's the thing, though, is that like Superman, the way that, especially with Man of Steel and the way that they've made Superman in the cinematic universe, it is not something that would make sense for him to do at this point. They made him a very high pedestal, godlike, Christ-like figure in their own movie, and because he fits that persona now, it does not make sense to go that way in
I mean, dude he did hit the Jesus pose in every one of his movies.
He did.
So I don't want him killing people.
Right. Did y'all?
The movie's foreshadowed.
Yes. Did y'all think the Christ imagery was heavy-handed?
I think it was for its time, it was back in 2013. I think it was enough. I think it was good. There was a moment, what was it, where he pushed himself out of the ship and
the Christ legs.
That
was too much.
When I looked at that was like, okay, well, you don't really need it. I think you've made your point, but I don't think it was overused to the point where it's like, I'm turning this off. I've had enough. But like, I think it was a good amount. Tara, what do you think? I think Tara has a good.
I mean, I think that if you aren't going to analyze the movie, if you're just going to watch it, I think it was fine. But if you're analyzing it, it might be a little much, especially if you're not religious. But for me, I thought it was perfectly fine. I didn't think it was overpowering or anything. I didn't think it was a Jesus movie. I thought it was still Superman.
Yeah.
If you have, like, this will be helpful for you in your school semester this semester. If you have a literature essay to write, ask your teacher to write about Man of Steel, because you can write a novel on all of like the biblical and literary devices that are used in this movie. There are a lot if you have the lens on for it. If you're specifically looking for that, you can find anything. But yeah, like what Tara was saying, if you're actually not really paying attention to it, the majority of it will just fly right over your head. And with that being said, you won't be bothered by the ones that don't, because it's just so little.
Cool. All right, I want to talk about some Easter eggs, and then we're going to go to grades. So when Lois was in the Arctic and they're studying that Kryptonian ship that was there was this pod in there, and there was like a prequel comic that was alluding to the fact that Supergirl could be in one of those pods.
Bro, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you said pods. I thought you said ponds.
No,
bro.
pods. Yes.
When?
There was a prequel comic that came out before Man of Steel, and he was getting more into that Kryptonian ship that crashed. What?
Do you know how many relatives Superman has that's crash landed on Earth, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Yeah, Superwoman could be in that pod, Dwayne.
Could be.
Superwoman?
Yeah.
Supergirl?
No, there's a Supergirl and a Superwoman. They're two separate people.
Yeah, they're two separate people.
And what about Superman's son? What about his son, Dwayne?
Well, he has to impregnate someone first. He has to impregnate someone first.
I'm not going over this with you again, Dwayne. I'm not going over this with you again. I'm not talking to you about that.
Okay. Another thing is
it could be Superman's dad, bro. It could be his mama.
Hey, I mean,
I've come to save you.
He was in the movie enough. Oh, I also liked when Zod. Oh wait, no, not Zod. I mean Jor-El was helping Lois out of the ship like he's a GPS device. That was actually kind of clever.
GPS device.
Yeah, it's like literally he was directing her to go this way, go that way, opening doors and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And also like the exchange that the exchange he has with Zod when he takes over the ship. That was actually a really good scene before he just deletes him from the program. That whole exchange between the two, just seeing the ideology between the two, and also feel that these two known each other since they were small. I wish we could get a prequel with them, just on Krypton, so we could see their development between Zod and
the TV show.
Jor-El.
I'm not watching that. I'm not watching.
They're not even doing that. They're doing the great grandfather of Superman.
Look,
I don't care about that.
Nobody wants to see a movie about Krypton, bro. That's boring.
Really? Because I heard a lot of people that saw Man of Steel and was like, I would really want to see a Krypton movie.
You can have flashbacks in the next Superman movie. How about that?
Yeah, Man of Steel 2.
If they do a Man of Steel 2,
doing a Man of Steel 2.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I want a Man of Steel 2.
Okay, watch, bro. In about 2 years, Man of Steel 2. Watch.
I'll be jumping up and down because I want a Man of Steel 2. But yeah, so I really like the relationship between Zod and Jor-El. It's one of the best dynamics in the movie. And then Dr. Emil Hamilton, who is Superman's scientist assistant in the animated series, is in this movie, but didn't have much to do, and he died.
Yeah, he died in Batman vs Superman.
No, he died in this movie. You're talking about Jimmy Olsen.
this dude has so many sidekicks and let him.
I know.
That's why he's a murderer. That's why Superman's a murderer.
What? But anyway, I just wish he had more to do. And then the general, played by Harry Lennox, I thought he was fine. People thought he was Martian Manhunter for some reason. I don't know why. I guess because they look at the Supergirl shows like, oh, there's a black general there, so does that mean they'll do it in Man of Steel? No, guys, stop. Stop it. Oh, and backtracking a lot. Going back to the scene where when Clark was a kid and saving the all the kids on the bus. Lana Lang was in the bus, so that was really cool that they included her in the movie. I really hope we get to see her as an adult. I don't know how likely that's going to be, but I'm just happy they included Lana Lang in the universe. So there's a thumbs up there.
So I have a question. How would you guys grade this movie?
Well, I'm glad you asked because we're about to get your ratings. So overall, yes, this movie has some problems. There's some clunky writing here and there. But overall, I did think this was a strongly made DC film. This is probably my favorite Superman film. Yes. Henry Cavill was great. Most of the cast was great. It had some awesome fighting scenes, even though we have some disagreements about the cinematography and editing. I really like the action. That fight between Zod and Superman is one of the best superhero fights I've seen.
It is the best.
To me, like when we talk about a list of top 10 superhero fight scenes, that's going to be on the list for me. But yeah, I just thought I really appreciated the new direction they're doing with Superman, and I was excited to see where they're going to expand the universe from there. Yeah, Marvel has a better structured universe for sure, but I prefer to see what DC has because I'm more invested in those characters than I was in Marvel. So overall, I gotta give Man of Steel an A-.
You give it an A-? Okay.
Yes.
That's fair.
I give it an A-.
You guys, what do you give it?
I would give it
Tara.
8.5, but then a letter grade, probably an A.
I mess with that, yes.
Shannon Jeffrey.
I would give an 8.5, as Tara said, but letter grade probably roughly the same, probably like between an A- and an A, probably an A, just to, curve the grade a little bit, because I'm a good professor.
Outrageous.
Oh, boy. So, I would give it a Superman movie. I would give it 10 out of 10. As a DC movie, I give it 9.5 out of 10. And as a letter grade, I'm gonna straight up give it an A because there were plot holes. But other than that, the movie was amazing.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you guys sticked with us this far. I know we were all over the place.
Stuck with us this far?
Yeah. Huh?
Stuck with us this far.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were all over the place. Hopefully, probably not. In the BVS review, we'll have a little bit more structure, but probably not. We will see.
No, we will not.
And that's the next podcast we'll do. We're going to do a huge spoiler discussion on Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the 3-hour ultimate cut. So we're going to be reviewing that, and that's going to be very heated, I'm sure. But thank you guys as always for watching. If you guys enjoyed this
comment and subscribe.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe to be updated on future videos I will be doing. Don't forget to subscribe to Outrageous Plays X channel and Shannon Jeffrey's channel.
Yeah.
And
subscribe to Tara's channel, guys.
Tara's the channel?
Oh, no.
Go ahead and plug your thing, Tara.
No. And she's making the channel right now, so. Yeah.
And Tara has a Shannon Jeffrey fan page on Tumblr. Make sure you go follow that.
I hate Tumblr.
Follow all of us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Kick, freaking all of it, guys.
Harmony.
Yeah, eHarmony, Christian Mingle, all of it, guys.
So if you guys
blackpeoplemeet.com.
So if you guys couldn't establish, we're all single. So anyway, thanks for.
It's been outrageous, guys. See ya.
It has been outrageous. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.